All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital, nightly strategy podcast for April 20th, 2023, 420. I don't even know what that means. All right, we'll start with the swing portfolio. Here's old reliable Alcoa. Everything here is on 30-minute charts. These red boxes represent our risk. Here's our guiding MACD. The slope and position relative to the zero line gives us our four seasons, and you can see that marked off in the way we color code the RL10, which is our proxy for price. So we have a summer, a fall, a winter, a spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer. And you can see that the changing of the seasons going to winter, spring with a higher low, into the summer with a Kata 2. That's everything we want. So Alcoa had this nice little Kata 2 series up into here. Couldn't hang any further. Today we took the short after the PSAR flip. We didn't take it yesterday and waited for this intraday move to roll over. The standard risk took us right to the top of the PSAR, so that was natural. This thing gave us this and then fail. So we're holding two to the short side overnight. AI is that C3 AI software company. And yesterday, we in the mid-morning, we bought the morning hook. And the PSAR flip happened shortly thereafter. Today, this thing opened here, ran all the way up, and then ran all the way down, and I held it as long as I could to the edge of the dragon. I want you to notice the this is what we would call the dragon horns, that when you get a sharp excursion and then immediate reversal, it sort of looks like, you know, the dragon's horns. And there's his body. That's an alert that the dragon horns are the peak. So this turned out to be a micro win. So we won that much on that much risk. I finally got into it here after the collapsing dragon. It could have had a little better entry, but I was pretty happy with this after all. And then it collapsed and closed poorly. That's 2R right there. So I'm happy about that one. Caterpillar, no trade, but we did close. This was that long Kata 2, that grind and grind and grind. It just kept failing. So basically a collapsing dragon exit at the open. So we were able to preserve one. At its maximum peak, it probably had +2. So we ended up giving back one. Aim for 2, settle for 1. Cliff, that long slide is even more pronounced in Cliff. And today on this little rollover, got the collapsing dragon and 2R. Yeah, as my brother will point out, he's talking about the zero line in the MACD. You can see that really pronounced here. I would just notice the zero line is. Come on, can I draw the line? This is the zero line, that dotted line right there. So when the signal line is sloping upwards and above the zero line, that's summer. When it's above the zero line but sloping downward, that is fall. So if we go north from here, we'll see that's where the seasons change. So that was summer, this is fall. When fall goes into winter, right at the collapsing dragon. That's a good short. And see, it's below the zero line and slope is negative. When it gets positive, but below the zero line, that's spring. So there was a very brief spring here. And then when it collapses down below the Red River and in the winter, that is your prime signal. So winter, spring, winter is your prime shorting season, because fall, spring just destroys everybody's psychology. So you get this nice big move. Now it stayed below the zero line and then monkeyed around. And now notice in that it's not really panic selling anywhere, and that means that the RL10 and the RL30 are getting very close together, so the difference between them is small, and that gives you this tightest of little red rivers. And then when it breaks here, like we got today, that move, it doesn't take much of a move to break it south of the Red River, and this could be the start of something big. So we got that one short from here, still holding that. That's about +3 because the risk box is so tight. So the MACD is your friend. Gives you a broad strategic vision. So CVS has just been all over the map with this thing. You know, we've had nice runs up. This is an example of that gift. This is when we tried, and then it gapped down, so we got smashed. Then we got short and made a little bit. There was another gap down. I didn't want to hold this overnight because of those gaps. This is the case where the gap would have been favorable, but so be it. So I wait for this thing to come up, hit the far side of the dragon, and bounce off the PSAR. That makes me feel confident in the downside move, especially because this is going to be winter, spring, and this is going to become winter pretty shortly. And if it breaks below 73.25, look out below. So that's a nice, I got about 1 hour in hand and front running what could be a painful move. If I wanted to go, jump out a factor of 3 or 4, I could go look at the 2-hour charts real quickly and say, yeah, this thing has a long way to go yet. So if it breaks here below the 10-day low, which is the belly of the dragon, it'll come down to 72. So there's a nice move to the downside. And even on the 2-hour charts, that's just beginning to leave the Red River. So that's just beginning to get murdered. So I like. Dish Network, no trade, just stalking. Devon Energy, we got burned on the gap again. So we were holding it long. It closed poorly. And then the big gap down in energy, so ended up taking a 2-hour loss. Hate that. No overnight risk. Emerging arts and electronic arts. We had a 2-bagger. Held the caught at 2. This didn't close strong enough to buy it. I will be short here at 128.50 with the second position here. I will be long if it breaks above this descending PSAR. So I would expect to be able to get an entry right about here. I would say 128.81 or not later than 129, and that should go. Nice trade in either direction. That's what that is. Emerging markets. So this is one of those reasons, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. So rather than holding out for more and then getting slaughtered by that gap, this thing gapped up as it couldn't hold and started to sell off, and the R10 rolled over. I got short here on the near side of the dragon. Sorry, that should be red. It broke down through the PSAR and sold off. And then as it started coming back up, I said, let me just pay for that last gap that murdered me. So I took the +2 and got flat on this one. Ethereum continues. In the morning it sell up, but now it's kind of stabilizing around 9.5. We'll see. You know, this was the base for a really nice move. This could be the base. And then here's your PSAR flip. Looking for that. No trade in Mexico. Covered the short in Brazil. No trade in Intel. I think the that support level, that's crucial. If that breaks, down we go because it's just into the winter now. By the same token, this has sold off far enough that if this reverses, I'll take the next entry at about 31.20 with about a 30-cent risk. And then I like that one up here. Has to get through this support at 32, but that's 2R to the upside. I'll take that. International paper. We started this one back on the 17th. The COTA 2. And it closed really well. And then yesterday, right at the close, we just took that. We missed that further sell-off. This may be setting up in here. Let's see how the industrial sector and the broad market itself goes. But I am now directionally neutral on that because I've been out of it for a day. So I don't have a commitment to it. IYR, we covered the long yesterday, missed the short. That has potential on the weak side. We covered the long gift on this one yesterday. Today's broad weakness. It wasn't like a panic selling, though. This was more like this just feels in line with this. That what used to be the upper limit is now the support. What was once resistance could now be support. So I think above 43.75, you got to be thinking about that trade. And then the second position if it breaks out higher than this. The downside trade below 43.25 should be clear and obvious. McDonald's, I'm just holding it. I'm just loving it. That's all it is to it. Let me get this bad boy moving. I'm just going to stay in that one until the hell freezes over. Merck, I reinitiated the entry on this one. This feels like a orderly sell-off. Second leg down. It held support all day here, and the winter bottomed out and turned to spring. And I'm going to give it a try because I think if it can just get to 115, that's a good trade. That's 2R for me just to get to the top of this resistance. And then if it breaks above here, that's another 2R. And if it breaks above 116, I'd be happy. Marijuana, this was a long that we tried yesterday. Today it got weak, so we sold it off for a scratch. Stopped in reverse, luckily, and it closed down here, so that is a 1, 2, plus 3R. That'll help feed the bulldog. Clean Energy initiated a short, the usual. Rivian initiated a short on the usual morning weakness. The S&P rolled over. It had a nice last 30-minute recovery, but that just means it was off the low of the day. As it got back to the exact midpoint of the day, and then it's running into what used to be support, and now we'll see if that's weakness or resistance, I should say. Missed the SSC and the double bottom in treasuries. I think if that holds tomorrow, if that holds here and then breaks out, I think even above here, tight risk box, and I think I want to be long. I'm going to play that in both directions. I'll just set the trade up tonight, and then if it breaks below the 5-day low, which is also the 10-day and the 30-day low, I'll put a second position on. After a nice run up in the summer, this has come back into the fall, right to the edge of the Red River. So If it rebounds from there, that would be a summer, fall, summer, which is an auto long, so I like that. But if it fails, it's only a short distance to the winter and then pain and suffering. Notice that the last time that it fell through the winter, it did this all the way to here, and that gives you the short from here all the way to here. That's MACD all the way. And then notice the beauty of the winter, spring, winter. So you get short again right here, which is right here. Even if you waited for the gap, you still get that nice move. Notice how when it's in the winter, that thing is a pronounced selling pressure up in here. And then when it stabilizes, just that little bit of not failing further is enough to turn the MACD into tentative spring. But then when it gaps and starts failing, you get right back into the winter, so you know to be short. This looks promising to the upside because we crossed into the summer here. And it held, so this has given us a Kata 2 flavor. And so summer, fall, summer. Tesla, 6th time this year they lowered prices, having trouble meeting delivery forecasts. The rocket blew up even though that was still a positive experiment in SpaceX. 10% gap down and sell off. That'll hurt your feelings. Held support here, but that's just the first half of the cup. So that could be the trade. We'll see. Ready to play it either direction. Finally, U.S. Steel initiated the short on the Kata 2 to the downside because you have a high, a lower high, and you have winter, spring, winter, and that's why this is a nice trade. And then you get all of this. And here's our risk. And we're holding +2, so it feels good. Sniper trade of the day, so we're on AI. It's been in the news, not in a good way. Three-minute charts now. So this was the orderly close. Here was the gap down in the OR3. It reversed and started and broke up through the PSAR. So just put a standard risk down. Notice the standard risk is a little larger than the OR3's bottom, which is fine. Cash. +2. Spring, summer, short, second on a collapsing dragon. So this is one where I gave it an extra bar or two to fail that I'm in. At the collapsing dragon, which is almost 2R, that break tells you this could really go. Third cover. That's a nice one. Three on this one. One on that one. Half on that one. So about 4.5 total. Stop and reverse. Scratch and short. Sorry, that should... my little dot didn't get drawn. That's an exit right there. And that's another +2. So that's about 6.5. Let's go to the traders. And the last shall be first. So here's EA on the 3 minutes. He has a entry standard risk to the bottom of the dragon. 2R battle drill adds a second. It rolls over, takes it, and 2.5, and then go golf. Paid for the round. That's $340 an hour there, Bill. Times 2,000 hours a year.
Yeah, I just wanted to show the that spring summer switch as the entry.
Let me.
Sorry.
Hold on. Let me pull it back up. Hey, did you see my note on the book? I sent you the outline. I got all the pieces and parts. I just.
Okay.
I got to purge probably about 30% of the smooth redundancies to keep it concise.
Got it.
But I thought the psychology discussion with Alpha Mind was so
excellent.
good. I'm transcribing that one in Dragon, and so that's going to take a little purge.
It'll be worth the wait, man.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
Yeah, the point's not to get it out, but to have the right book out is correct.
Yep, it's on short final. All right, so this one,
Go ahead.
Anyway, I sent you the index. You wanted to show something on this one here?
Yeah, the spring turns to summer trigger rule. Because you have a PSAR, it starts off at night and it went up, and maybe you didn't want to take the initial.
Hey, just a minute. Let me see if you can draw on this. I might be able to. Hold on. Let's see. I thought there was one where I could have you draw on it. I guess not.
I can just describe
well,
it.
Talk through it.
So if you can see back all the way to the extreme left of the screen, there was actually a price breaking through the PSAR dot.
Here.
Yeah. So, then it rockets up and you say, oh, well, I missed that initial exuberance, right? So guys sometimes are wondering, when we have the PSAR working in our direction, how do I get back in? How can I safely, ride the train? Well, you do it by exactly what you're drawing there. My Williams percent R is not like yours or anybody else's out there. That's a special case thing that I'm working on. But you can see the moving average 3 and 6 I have moving out of the Red River. That's good. But then it also triggers because the spring turns to summer in the regular MACD in the price window. That's really the key. So it moved down, but then the next bar made it turn green. That's when I got in. So spring turns to summer above the PSAR is an auto.
The dragon and the bottom of the dragon, and it's sloping up too.
Yeah, it's an auto entry. You and I discussed that probably 2 months ago in that session with Eddie.
And then you just instantly put the 2R battle drill box on. You wait for it to close, so you end up getting this exit right in there.
Yes. And then,
so your exit,
and then I just have, because I have the two positions on, the MMRB is initially my trailing stop. But because my rule says when you have two positions on, you must move the stop up from a minimum of 20% when you have more than 2% or two positions on.
Yep.
So I go to an 8%
Well,
or a
plus you
pointed.
had, all of these bars in the up, if you just want to get a little
Yeah.
technical. Notice that they were all
The
closing higher than they opened, so you got an upward. This little doji is the first one where
Yep.
it closed lower. Then this one opened, tried to run, but then closed below
Yep.
the at the low of the bar. That's all
Yep.
you need to see,
Yep.
because you remember your second entry was right in here anyway. Your second entry is only holding a fraction. Your
Right.
first entry is giving you 2, and then each one of these gives you an extra quarter to give you a
Yeah.
total of 2.5.
Yeah. Just don't lose. Don't lose on the second one
Yep, don't
because
lose.
don't lose on the second one because why? Because we can always get
Because of
back in.
reasons. Because of rules.
Because of rules and
Because of
reasons.
rules, man. All right.
All right.
Enough of that. All
Yep.
right. So,
Back to you,
let's
brother.
see. This is Tim finding his stride. Now he was able to overcome work distractions and attend to business. Gets paid. Gets paid. He does not take the OR3, otherwise he could have gotten this entry, but he does get the PSAR. Carefully manages to no lose in his bracketing, and then now on a 1-2 exit, cashes a nice one, 1.7. Scratch and gets paid. Notice the symmetrical, nice. That'd be good. Let's see. Apple takes gets a couple swing and a miss for -1, but then crushes Nvidia for 2.3 for a 3.8 day, and really found his stride on the short side. Notice how steep and sharp that those sell-offs occur. It's the climb up the steps, jump out the window pattern, and when those hit, it's that CD is always a rocket ship down. Look how sharp down that was, and then it monkeys around before recovering, and then the edge of the dragon is your friend. Whereas on the way up, notice how steeply this was oscillating, and then the sell-off is like this, and then climbs up the window in 2 legs, or up the steps, and then jumps out the window. So always remember, the collapsing dragon is your friend. Is your friend. This is Peter. Sorry. Let's see where we're at here. This is Brazil. Brazil on 1 minute is tough. I just think it's better and smoother on 3 minutes. You still get plenty of time to trade it. And on a 3 minute chart, you would never have gotten out of that trade, and you'd have killed that trade because it smooths it out. That's what I would say. On Brazil, you're not looking for the VWAP to qualify the intraday trade. The range stat on this thing is so large that anytime you got something like 1 or 2 MMRBs within the top and it rolls over, you use the far range stat as a way to qualify it for 2-1, because the move to the VWAP is just one leg, and I always assume it can go another leg, so that would easily qualify for 2-1. Usually, if I can see just one to the VWAP, I'm in. Especially on the sell-off, because that's guys unwinding leverage positions. They are motivated. Hamad, what I got to say is, look, I need you to use different color scheme on this, because I can't read what's going on. What I want you to do is, for example, where's my... Yeah, I mean, make the entries bright green. and use bright yellow on a dark screen. Use bright yellow for your wrist boxes, and then on your exit or selling, use bright red so I can see what's going on. I use yellow as a signal that, hey, I was like on this one, if I'd have been thinking of a second position but didn't take it, I'd make that yellow just to draw my alert to it and say, hey, I was thinking about making a decision, didn't take any action. And now this starts to pop. And I'm just sort of wondering why we've got these very thick lines for all these indicators. I can't even see anything that's going on in here. So there's a certain efficiency and clarity that comes from decluttering, and I might recommend that. And then just notice how much space your extra indicators are taking. If you color code the RL10, then you don't even have to show the RL10, or you can make it smaller, and it gives you more room to distinguish with moves on the upper screen. And again, on scale on this one, it's like for actual analysis, you know, uh, here's the great big green box. Did I enter here, or here in the middle, or up here? Where in that giant area was the exit? Although maybe is that the short right here? So I don't know what your color scheme is for yellow. I would just make those much brighter. That pastel is just not really feasible. And these are bright enough down here, I would say. Follow my own advice here. Yeah, I mean those are bright enough colors that are seeable, but just this is really, I can't really see that well. And I think black text on a white background would make the notes really stand out for you, make it much easier to read. Good Kata 2. Yeah, again, so I don't know what that is. Was that is that an is this an exit on this entry? And that's the re-entry. Now I like the re-entry because you just got the Z3 starting to expand, so that's actually a Z2 breakout and a great exit. This is trading inside the chop of the river. Stay out of the river. You want to be on one side of the river entering towards the Bollinger Band main, looking for it to go across. So anytime you're entering inside the river, it's problematic. Crocodiles be getting you. Notice how this is much easier to see. Now, Peter, give me a summary from now on of your R's. I want you to, yeah, you're doing a nice job labeling the pattern that you see. I like this Z3 breakout. I like getting paid. I like the reentry above the R10 wiggle. If that's equivalent to say get out here instead of there, that's still pretty good. You got paid. I like the short. I like the cover. I like the long, and that was unfortunate. You stayed out of the chop when it broke below the VWAP. I like the idea. So that was that's not bad. Let's see. Here's Woj. There's your double bottom PSAR with a Kata 2. That's an SSC and a Kata 2. Here's your OR3 breakdown there, I think, and then a continuation Kata 2. This stop and reverse should have been taken, and would pay you. You could even then take that short here on the PSAR flip because you have a big down, small up, and it crosses the dragon again. That's my favorite entry right there. Nice work in U.S. Steel. And notice that the trade that paid for the whole day didn't even get this because he's in a stupid meeting at stupid work. Missed the NVIDIA. So we'll take 2 for the day. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we just saw that one from my brother. Good, Bill. Talk through that one there.
Okay. This was just when you had mentioned trading EWZ on the 1 is really difficult. This is what that same sequence looks like from the open. If you just play the PSAR flip right at the open.
There's your OR3.
Yep. And the PSAR flip for sniper folks. That's the
Yeah, that's about 20 cents MMRB.
yeah. The moving regression line 10 crossing through, and then the PSAR flip is the signal. Then you wait. It never really goes back 1 full R. So then you get the second position when it goes back up again and breaks through that high, or almost. Then you take that exit right there at about 10:18. But that is the difference when you're looking at a 3-minute versus the 1 minute. It's much smoother. And this is the same theory for my swing trading stuff, which goes from 3-day to 9-day. The 9-day is so smooth. It's a couple of my options guys.
It's like butter.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like
the longer term options, you can really, you don't have to worry about the overnight risk as much because the ranges are larger. That the size of the percentage size of the gap is not as important.
Yeah, my options guys love that little hint that I gave them, so they are loving that.
I'm gonna go ahead and get this sorted. Oh, I guess we should run through the report real quick here. Sorry.
Thanks for the time, Ken.
Aye, sure. Steven's making good progress on the question and answer bot, the Ask the Owl bot. That's we're making progress on that.
Oh man.
Yep.
There you go.
Let's see. Home. Zoom.
Anybody in the sound of our voice tonight, watch that kid. He's
smart. He's smart.
He's smart. Just because math.
Well, what that's allowing me to do is my work with the AI now consists primarily of exploring prompt engineering. If I'll just take a half a second and talk about that. So, prompt engineering is how to ask good questions. So the large language model has this huge elaborate network of words webbed together. So the way you ask the question makes this thing respond in a certain way with an answer. But if you vary the language of the question, you can get a really different answer because it tries to interpret it in certain ways. So what's making me very good at this is my research background, where we take a problem area, which is a tangled web, and we turn that into a primary research question, which is objective and measurable and very precise and we can calibrate that with a bunch of other supporting secondary questions, which you have to answer in order to get a complete answer on the primary. So the act of turning generic problem fuzzy areas into precise research questions turns out to be my superpower. And I've got about 30 doctoral dissertations where I've been the research director and over 200 master's theses in that area. So, across a wide range of case studies and mixed methods research. So, working with the pros on that is making me, I think, latch on to best practices in prompt engineering. So I'm working hard with some smart young people exactly. And this is how strange the world is. I'm in a Discord server, which is like, where the hackers hang out for this software that I've been experimenting with. And I gave some thanks to some people in there for the help they'd given me engineering some of these prompts to quiz the AI in a certain way. And a guy says, do I know you? Do you know my mentor, Van Tharp? And it was like old home week. And it was the last place in the world I would expect to find a Tharp Think trader was in some Discord server in a room discussing prompt engineering for some AI. But, that's how the world works sometimes. Um, so that's kind of what we're doing. What my son is working on is that I've got about 1,000 pages of written systems and essays. It's more like maybe even 2,000 if I think about it. And I got about 10,000 hours of lecture notes. So we're going to turn the lecture notes into text with transcription, and then plus this text, and then that's going to form a large database of my material, our material, and then we're going to have Chat GPT-4 train on that so that you can have a little robot and you ask the little robot questions. He's going to go down in there and then come up with an answer. And then one of us smart guys is going to look at it and say, is that good? If it's good, we send it to you. And then we dump that back in here so that this is continually training and refining that. The Chat GPT-4 large language models gives us the ability to have reliable semantic networks. But the chatbot is going to automate all that stuff for us. He's going to be a tireless teaching assistant. In the meantime, I just started a program to get my coaching certification for holistic human coaching. So it's not just the rational mind; it's the entire embodiment. The head, the heart, the gut, hands and feet, and emotional intelligence going forward. So
How much is that one? Because I was looking at the
10
one
grand.
from I was looking at the one from Wisconsin University.
Yeah. Well,
It's
this
it's
one
a
I did some due diligence on this one. She's ICF certified and been in the
yeah.
business 25 years, and I called some of her students that have been coaching with that method for about 10 years. Plus, I went through some therapy triage where I listed all the things I was interested in working on, and then that ran it through a triage, and it recommended dialectic behavioral therapy, which is a subset of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is using um,
Yep.
physical state management, emotional state management. And this one, dialectic, is using language, which is nothing more than large language models to help understand and regulate emotional states, cognitive function, and making behavioral changes that last. So,
Yep.
on that basis, DBT is a big element of holistic human coaching, along with emotional intelligence and empathy and some of that other stuff. That it wouldn't hurt me to work on that human side in order to complete my internal programming.
And why would
As
anybody ever talk to me again?
as a cyborg, you know. So anyway, I'm going to be starting at the cost to me is about 10 grand, but I think in the long run, it gives me I think a little more street cred and balance in the way I approach coaching, because the coaching that I have typically done is either in direct athletics or combat sports or competitive sports
Right.
or military situation coaching, and
Right.
I don't know that that gives us a complete view of holistic humans, because you have to accept risks and trade-offs in both of those short-term high performance endeavors. So getting more of the say linguistic, artistic, intuitive, emotional element, I think it's important that I develop some skills in there to address the full range of the emotional challenges and opportunities for our traders. So I'm going to get that started here this summer and turn that into the coaching program, so which I want to do more of. All right, so that's I think. Oh wait, we still have to do the reports, don't we? There was nothing really special about today. It was just kind of a consolidation day. So I'm going to leave the reports to you guys and give it a shot. Hey, I also did about a good 90 minutes with the foundation guys on the Q&A. There was some really good insights into the Kata 2 challenge. I'm going to post that in Patreon for you. So I'd rather that you guys listen to some of that discussion rather than me droning on about the report. I think the insights for Kata 2 and exit management were pretty well done. All right, so that's everything I got here. We'll get this published and posted and be ready for you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, to Greg G. Yeah, I come from sort of a Buddhist sensibility anyway. And yeah, to Mike M., the doctoral research and master's level research is really to investigate known areas of disciplines to fill in the gaps, and tends to be reinforcing and validating. The doctoral research tends to be investigatory, exploratory. So you're trying to get divergent excursions just to get the lay of the land, and all we're trying to do is shape the dimensions of new fields of endeavor, and so you need a combination of both of those. So that's why I'm thinking the holistic coaching would be useful to me and to the team by exploring some of the other, maybe the more indirect modes of coaching. So there we are. All right, guys, that's everything I got. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Bye.